What's a random science fact that you know? Tyrannosaurus was closer in time to humans than to Stegosaurus. That explains why my arms are so short. You're closer to space than you are to anything more than about an hour's drive away. Seattle is closer to space than to the Pacific Ocean. Female ducks evolved to have threaded vaginas because male ducks are considerably rappy. So male ducks evolved to have corkscrew-shaped penises so they can carry on fucking. Dirty bastards. I used to work at a tourist attraction next to a river. I would have to sit at the entrance to a tiny museum and greet guests or answer their questions about the local history. I also got a front row seat to ducks raping each other every day. I think I have PTSD from 2 years of daily raping. Tourists would stand around me and say, "Oh wow, look at those ducks fighting." I would sit there wide-eyed, slowly nodding, never blinking, wishing I was dead. If you ever get a cut and it won't seem to stop bleeding, chances are you're low on vitamin K, as it's the one that helps your blood clot. Vitamin K can be found in most vegetables, especially leafy greens, which is why people on warfarin and certain other anticoagulants need to be mindful of their greens intake. Ideally, they should eat them only in moderation and aim for the same amount every day to keep their warfarin levels stable. Wombats shti in squares. Sloths literally shti pillars. Koalas have smooth brains and thick skulls that function as helmets cause they fall off trees a lot. Why aren't they extinct yet? Fires last year tried. Mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. Damn it, I was too late. You beat me to it. Time is slightly slower between higher altitudes and lower altitudes, to infinitesimal fractions of a second. The designers of the GPS satellites had to compensate for this, since the entire system is built around ridiculously precise timekeeping. The Earth makes a full rotation in about 23 hours and 56 minutes. Not 24 hours. But during that rotation, it's also revolved 1/365th of the way around the sun. So it takes about another 4 minutes of spinning before every individual point on Earth gets back to the same approximate angle it was at 24 hours ago relative to the sun. Approximate because there's also axial tilt, which causes seasons. There is a species of bees in South America that produces milk instead of honey. They don't form hives and usually live in monogamous pairs all their life. They are called boobies. Other insects also lactate. Tsetse flies, for example. Their milk protein composition is similar to that of mammalian milk too. Time slows down if you move fast enough. Every 60 seconds, a minute passes. When you take a shot of alcohol, it actually activates the receptors in your body to indicate your body is on fire, exposed to heat. Which is why alcohol burns on the way down. This is less of a science fact and more of an alcoholic fact. To be more specific, it actually increases the sensitivity of those heat receptors, the same ones that spicy stuff activates, which ends up making your own body heat feel too hot. Most mammals have penis bones, baculum. Humans are one of the few exceptions. Some biblical scholars believe Adam's rib being given to Eve was euphemism for the baculum, as even back in the day people noticed that everything else has a bone there but we don't. Squirrels can survive falling from terminal velocity. I learned this after witnessing a squirrel hit the ground after a presumably long fall. It made a loud smack as it hit the ground. Scared the crap out of me and the dog. Then scampered away up another tree like nothing happened. The biggest mountain in our solar system is no longer Mount Olympus on Mars but Resilvia Central Peak, which is a mountain volcano in an impact crater on an asteroid called Vesta. I was pretty shocked on how it is. The calcium in your bones, the iron in your blood, just about everything in you other than hydrogen was fused together in a massive star that exploded. And now you, a clump of these atoms, is contemplating this fact. Diamonds aren't forever. In fact, they are dust at 500 degrees in your oven for a few hours. Diamonds aren't pressure temperature stable at the surface. If you heat them without also applying incredible pressure, They become CO2 and a little pile of carbon. The enormous pressures and the depths of the ocean have nothing to do with how wide the ocean is. It is simply depth. In other words, you can manufacture a steel straw, the width of a drinking straw, make it 1 mile long, then fill the straw with water to the top. You will have 285 pounds of pressure at the bottom of that straw. The foreskin contains 1/3 of the sensory nerves on the penis and is the most sensitive and erogenous part of the penis by far. Just another reason I'm pretty upset I was circumcised. A pig's orgasm lasts 30 minutes. Alright, I knew I was gonna see some weird tea in this post, but this one takes the cake so far. If aluminum is exposed to gallium, it undergoes a very strange chemical reaction that gives the aluminum the strength and texture of thick wet paper. The infinite alternating sum 1 1 stroke 2 plus 1 3 1 4 plus 1 5 1 6 plus can add up to any number you want if you rearrange the order of the terms. The average kangaroo can jump higher than the average house. I'll lay another science fact down as well. The average house can't jump. If you bleed more than 100 ml min on the International Space Station, they write you off and say any medical supplies spent on you is a waste. When you cry really hard, your nose runs because it's connected to the same pipes as your tear ducts. So your nose is also helping you get your tears out. On a similar note, your nose runs when it's cold out because you have created a heat gradient. Warm air can hold more water than cool air, so as you exhale, the water condenses at the end of your nose and so your nose runs. If the universe is infinite, then at 1 0 0 0 0 0 0 000 circumflex 115 light years you would run out of different combinations for particle arrangement, meaning an exact copy of Earth down to every particle in the air and every human. Hold on. So does that also mean that there were other variations too? Like an Earth in which the WW1 happened but not WW2? Basically small variations in the conditions leading to a butterfly effect. Oh, so an alt sweaty place exists who is also handsome and attractive? Siri. Compounds have what's called a triple point where they exist simultaneously as a solid, liquid and gas state. The sun rises on the ice every 90 minutes, which is the time it takes to orbit the Earth, and so astronauts experience about 16 morning every day. You can tell if it's above or below 14 F outside by walking on snow. If the snow squeaks underfoot, it's below 14 F. That if I flew around the Earth at super speed anti-clockwise, I would go back in time. Or that might be in a Superman movie. I can't remember. I don't think a retrograde Earth orbit has such an effect. Google's secretive X lab showed 10 million YouTube images to a neural network of 16,000 computer processors for machine learning. The first thing the network did was invent the concept of a cat. Carbon comes from stars, which supernova, which means the basic building block of life is stardust. Muscles can only contract. Muscle tissue can't push. Doesn't sound like a big deal until you realize that actions like sticking your tongue out of your mouth are completely the result of pulling, not pushing. Babies grow mustaches in the womb. Humans look like F-king werewolves in the womb. My ex's aunt gave birth prematurely and her son was covered in hair for a few weeks. Carrots were bred into being orange. They were originally purple and much harder. More like an uncooked yam. Cerebrospinal fluid tastes like banana and rust. Not the banana part, but I can definitely confirm the metallic rusty taste. Busted my face open and leaked brain fluid down my nose theater a few times before healing. Female spotted hyenas have penises. Well, pseudopenis. Or penile clitoris. It's possible for females to achieve erections, and this makes the sexes very hard, pun intended, to differentiate. Also makes giving birth difficult because the birth canal goes through it and it tends to tear a lot. As a human woman who has given birth, that sounds even worse than what we have to deal with. The reason you feel tired after eating is because your stomach expands, which moves your diaphragm in a way that it pushes on your lungs, which makes you breathe less, in turn making you feel more tired. And I always thought it was just caused because the body was doing work. Some people need more salt in their systems than others, mainly Nepalese. And if they are forced to use less, they can have brain damage. By the time you finish reading this sentence, a child will have died of starvation. Gravity is a result of time being curved as opposed to space being curved. It's more accurately space-time. As per the theory of general relativity, space and time are not two distinct things but inseparable from each other. There's more bacteria in our ocean than any other life form. There's more virus in our ocean than bacteria though. Some birds have a system of heating venous blood using arterial blood in the legs, which is one of the ways that ducks and geese adapted to be able to swim in ice cold water. Chicken eggshells are either white or blue all the way through the shell. If you have an egg any other color, cream, brown, green, olive, it is because the chicken's reproductive tract painted the blue or white egg with a brown pigment late in the egg laying process. There is an element on the periodic table so radioactive, it instantly disintegrates itself. We don't even know what color it is. Obviously, it can only be made in a particle accelerator. Ninja Reddit. It's astatine. It'd take as many atoms to stretch from your head to your feet as it would humans to stretch from one side of the sun to the other. You taste spicy foods with your pain receptors. Female bedbugs don't have vaginal openings on their bodies. Instead, the male bedbug has a sharp penis that stabs her and ejaculates into her bloodstream, and the sperm cells float around until they get to their destination. The moon is moving away from the earth at about 2 inches a year. The moon is the only reason why we spin on a specific axis. Without the moon, the planet would wobble and drastically change our climate. This will occur in a few billion years. If you were to manage to fly a rocket in orbit around a black hole, time would pass differently for you. And you could go by 400 centuries here on Earth and have it feel like 4 minutes to you. And you would only age around 4 minutes. The Mpemba effect is a not well understood phenomenon where hot water freezes faster than cold water. The universe has a color, smell and taste. The average color of the universe, according to research from Johns Hopkins University, is a shade of beige cream commonly referred to as cosmic latte. The center of the universe also has a certain chemical within it, ethyl formate, which is the same chemical that gives rum its smell and raspberries their flavor. Thus, the universe is cream colored, smells like rum, and tastes like raspberries. Now if only someone made a raspberry milkshake with a rum scent named Universe. Apostrophe. Even with all its mountains, the earth is smoother than a pool cue ball. Actually, it's not. The myth came from the tolerance about manufacturing deviations. Many people assumed that the tolerance referred to smoothness, but it in fact referred to roundness. The earth is not smoother than a cue ball. The Big Bang didn't expand into any medium. There was no space before it to expand into. It just expanded. Like a balloon. If the whole of reality were inside that balloon and there was no outside. If you polish 2 pieces of steel, you reduce the friction and therefore make them slide better. Then, you would think that if you polished them so well they are completely smooth on an atomic level, there would be virtually no friction. Well, aside from the fact that it's impossible, it would be the opposite actually. You need a bit of rugosity in order to let a little bit of air go between your steel pieces, or the suction between the 2 pieces will be so strong it will be almost impossible to separate them.